let's just go straight into it. You can either do it with putting real furniture into the space, or you can do it in a computer, and you can do a virtual, a digital space.
Going once, going twice, sold. You're listening to the Property Pod.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Property Pod, your weekly engagement here into real estate in the Hobart marketplace. I'm your host, Aaron Horn, and I'm joined, as always, by our two real estate agents, Patrick Berry and John McGregor. Good morning, boys.
Good morning, Aaron. Now, I noticed in your intro you said weekly, but we haven't actually done weekly the last couple of weeks.
You're killing me. So, actually, I've had a few people reach out and be like, what's up with the pod? Where's the pod been? What's happening?
Creative differences?
Oh, well, the crazy thing is we had such a successful episode leading into it. So we've had a 2-week hiatus, kind of like we've gone on tour as a band. It's been like, we've had a hit.
It's time to take a break.
It's time to take a break. No, so we had a cracking episode with Tom coming in talking from Ingenuity Power Solutions.
Yeah.
We did actually record another episode. Well, we recorded the video for another episode. However, the audio did not get recorded, which is all on me. I apologise.
And then to compound issues, when we went to re-record, our entire studio decided to stop working.
Yeah, so I'm on a ghetto rig. So it's funny, I've listened to so many podcasts where they talk about these kind of technical issues that plague them. Yeah. And I'm just like, we've been pretty good in our 82 episodes so far.
Never an issue until last 2 weeks ago.
We've had issues, but we've never really gone this deep into a full system crash. But it's really nice that people have been reaching out and saying, like, hey, where's the pod?
What are you doing?
Yeah, like, absolutely. Is that it? Are you done? Did you just finish on a high? No, we didn't.
It's rare that we've actually, when we've had a break, we're having a break. It just, a break happens, and then we come back and say, we're back.
Yeah. So we are back. We're sorry that we were away. It's great to be back. We've got some great stuff to talk about today. But, yes, shout out to all those people that have missed the Property Pod. It's nice to be missed, and we are back ready to go with our ghetto rig.
Boom.
So what's been happening?
Well, I suppose...
Not a lot, apparently. Deer in headlights, John?
Well, I mean, at the moment, there's a lot of talk in the market where there's still a lot of, lack of available stock being available to buy.
Yep.
So it's sort of a moment now where there is the potential to be what you could say a little bit easy, sort of take advantage of the fact that there's so much demand that you don't make the extra effort in getting your situation house prepared to its best to make to get the best outcome for yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think what Nino did for us was he found a survey done by the National Association of Realtors. Now, just give perspective on that. That's like our Real Estate Institute of Australia, but more so on the grand scale,
a global level.
No, on the US level.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But which is basically global.
Oh yeah,
the amount of agents over there.
Well, you've been, haven't you, mate? Like,
yep.
And how many? There's like 100,000 agents attend to those conferences or something crazy.
Yeah, some of the big ones are up around those sort of numbers.
Yeah,
the one I went to was a lot smaller than that. I think it was about 10,000 people, but still compare that to 2,000 at a conference here. It was
you still felt like a little fish in a big pond.
Yeah, and that was ticket sales. On top of that, then there's just people that go and just hang out.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't actually attend the conference; they just network outside the conference.
Well, and that's what's so good about that, though, is the volume of numbers with this particular survey where they reached out to buyers about the idea of presentation and the fact that it just proved that the buyers will engage better with better photos, better presentation, styled properties, etc. So I think it was a good one that Nino prepared the notes for us just to have another conversation again around why making the effort makes a difference regardless of whatever market you're in.
Yeah, most definitely. Like, I think the key stat that he's pulled out straight away is that 89% of buyers just go straight to the photos.
Yeah.
So 89% of people are just going, looking through your window shopping through the photos rather than actually kind of reading all this text that goes into it.
Nothing's really changed there. Like, now people scroll through photos on the internet. Back when my old man and your old man were doing it, John, people would walk past all the real estate offices and look at the photo in the window.
Yeah, well...
So the same thing applies. The photo is what draws you in. And then from there... you explore more.
Well, it's like eating at a restaurant, don't they say that you eat with your eyes first? You kind of, if it looks good, you'll then dive deep into it.
Yeah, like you're sitting there, you see a couple having another food, a meal on the other table, and you're like, I'll have that, please.
Oh, I'm glad you do that, John, because so often I have a couple of friends and we were touring Tassie at the moment having palmies.
Yeah.
Like everywhere we go,
we're
doing a palmy tour, and I'll often see and scope the room. Has anyone had a palmy? I need to know, is it worth ordering here or
Did you
not?
say the palmy up at Derby?
Yeah.
Where did you say was the best palmy you've had in a long time?
I really liked I really liked Derby, but my friend Marcus said it was too saucy. So
Too saucy.
I didn't know a palmy could be too saucy, but
We're still talking about palmies, right?
yeah, but enough about my palmy talk.
Yeah, let's talk about some saucy property.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
what I wanted to kind of jump into from here is this idea of home staging and preparing these photos that 89% of people are looking at, preparing your property the best to get the best result. So obviously you guys are working kind of the marketing side of getting your property ready to go, but you guys have got to have the conversations with the vendors and say, like, I think this is the best way of getting the best result for your property. What I've kind of got from Nino here is a definition of home staging. So I thought we could break that down, go into that, and then we could just kind of talk about the way that it kind of spreads into. I think last time we did this conversation, I broke it down into John's way and Pat's way.
Yeah,
Pat wasn't too happy with.
I think it's
bullshit.
It's ways that work.
There are numerous ways to do it. So,
But you can still go, John can explain option 1, I'll explain option 2. But full disclosure, I'm happy with both options.
alrighty. So if we just read out this definition that we've got here. So home staging is the preparation of a private residence / property for sale in the real estate marketplace, or in inverted commas, setting the stage. So it's kind of like anything. You're setting the stage for it to be presented in its best light, setting it to be, it's like getting ready for the school formal.
Yeah.
We looked through the Mercury yesterday and we saw all the old school Mercury formal pictures.
Yep.
We're just like, those people set themselves up just to look absolutely stunning at that time
For a
in their
small
lives.
moment in time.
Yeah.
At their time in their lives. So that's the perfect jumping off point for, at that time in their life, they thought they looked the best that they could look. You think your house looks the best that it can look. However, sometimes you've got a bit of retail blindness. You're not really 100% sure that it looks up to market standard.
Yeah, sure.
What do we do?
Well, there's a couple of concepts to put together here. So we're looking at presentation specifically in the process of selling that you're going to. We're going to be, doing our best to make sure that the house presents as well, to have a better experience for buyers. Because one of the most important things is obviously people are going to want to be able to visualize the property's potential, either be it as an investment property or to live in. And quite often, many people have a real difficulty in being able to see themselves in a vacant space or in a house that's just that's got someone else's stuff in it that doesn't quite make sense.
Sure.
Now, what I mean by make sense is that every little space in your home needs a purpose. And that might be a lounge room's designed as a lounge room, a bedroom's a bedroom, an office space is an office space. Because, for instance sake, if you have what would be an office space, then you throw in a bed in there, someone's going to go, oh my God, the bedroom's tiny. This is useless. But when designed as an office, it's like, oh my God, this is a really good, useful space that we can use. And Dad had a story once where he was showing a property. This was the days before photos, obviously, but it's a good one.
What, your dad was around before photos were invented?
That's right. Yeah. Well, he's been around a long time. You could reference him in John Luke 6:17. but
the book according to Chris.
But he used to a couple of times. He actually sketched images because he's quite a good artist for the newspaper when it was advertised. Interestingly enough. So in this example,
How did that not come up when we had him on the show?
Well, we did say we're getting back for this would be a multi-part series.
Get him to do some courtroom drawings of holy moly. The man's got so many talents.
Yeah. So in his example, he there was a house that he kept showing, and they effectively had the lounge room and the dining and lounge room, and the feedback constantly was look, people were saying, oh my God, the dining room's massive, but what am I going to do with this lounge room? It's tiny. And he just said to the owners, look, do you mind if I rearrange your house?
Yeah.
So he effectively just dragged all the furniture to where it should be. And then with the next run of buyers that he got through, they're like, wow, this is a big lounge room. Wow, this is a big dining space. And he ended up in a multiple offer situation just by mere virtue of restyling the home.
So you're saying he basically invented property styling?
Absolutely. Exactly.
Okay, so it's good.
That's two.
So this is where we're talking about setting the stage. So it's kind of like you can be in the space for a long time and you can be like, oh, this is the only place that the couch goes. Or the trouble might be that you've got a massive couch. It's the only couch you could afford at the time. You had it from your last house. You put it into this place.
And it doesn't work in the new place.
It doesn't work in the new place, but life gets in the way. You've got to go with it.
You know, the amount of times that we go into houses and people have a fridge that doesn't fit in the fridge space. So
Yeah.
it's just sitting in the hallway or some random position because unfortunately they couldn't go and buy a new fridge for the actual house. So they just worked with the one they have. But this is exactly what we're talking about. Sometimes the furniture you own doesn't necessarily show the house in its best light. So what can we do to bring to the table to help make the house more presentable.
Yeah, most definitely. And then this is where last time we broke off into kind of there's a John approach and a Pat approach. So I was saying that there's basically, let's just go straight into it. You can either do it with putting real furniture into the space, or you can do it in a computer and you can do a virtual, digital space.
Let's start with real furniture.
Yeah, well, let's just go straight in there. We've spoken to Adam from Shift before.
Yeah.
Shift Property Stylings, they're a local company that will come in and consult. Well, John, you talk to Adam all the time. Would you like to
absolutely.
break this down?
Well, as we agreed now, it's like we we like both approaches. So it's not ours.
Is John the only one that uses Adam? Like, he may as well take the lead on this.
Well, it's quite cool. If you go to their warehouse, it's effectively just a giant furniture store with multiple rows. We visited them at the time when we had him on the podcast. But what their sole job is to choose the right furniture to fit in your space that makes the property look as best as it possibly can.
Setting the stage.
And I mean, again, when we sold Mum and Dad's house, it actually went off. We sold it off market. It didn't advertise, but we still staged it first because it was a big 4 or 5 bedroom home.
Yeah, well, it was a property that was unusual for Chigwell. So we had to make it stand out. And that's what you did with the staging.
Absolutely. And where it is effective in the physical space is because you are walking around, you're looking at windows, for example, you're experiencing what it's like in the home. Sometimes people will sit on the styled furniture. So what it'll do by doing it correctly is it's going to maximize the space in every single room, regardless of how big the room is. So what I mean by that is to give you an example, we had one at 10 McGuinness Crescent in Lenna Valley where this was a process where before the property was gone to market, it was original carpets. The family had been there their whole life. It hadn't been painted yet. So we had this discussion around pricing expectations. Now, at the time, it was around about $400,000. Now, we all agreed that the owners would be like, you know what, let's rip up the carpet, let's polish the boards and paint the walls. And so we did. We revisited the property. Now our expectations had changed to about the mid-4s. And then I said, look, I encouraged them to bring Adam in to do a style consult with the furniture. And that's when then they had this huge lounge room, which really had to be split into 2 sections.
Sure.
Because it was too big. So that's what he did, like lounge room dining. And then the kitchen was this like a square box. Where like, oh my God, what the hell do we do with this? Well, he ended up bringing in just a very simple circular dining table that was glass, for example. So you could still see through the space and yet you still had sitting area. So it didn't take away from the kitchen. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, this is a really nice separate kitchen and I've got a little place to have breakfast. And once the styling was done, well, then our expectations moved to, you know what, we probably should do offers over $465 at this point. And by the time the campaign was finished, I think the final accepted contract was $495. And
yeah, so what a massive jump from just the idea of kind of consulting with someone and saying like, oh, this is what we think could maximise, and again, we keep saying it in this episode, but setting the stage for the best result.
So, ballpark, what do you reckon those owners spent to be able to make that extra $100,000?
So, on furniture, I think it was around about 3.5 to 4 specifically. But then with the renovations, with all the work, I think they spent about 20 to 25. So it's about $30,000, but they netted an extra 60. Yeah, exactly. Cool. And that's, I suppose, an element of it where the good thing, where the in-person furniture element is, that's where that real, once they're in the property, that's where that a real emotional connection can be generated, which is obviously then if people have fallen in love with the place, they're more inclined to obviously make an offer.
Well, people now make offers, including the furniture that Adam puts into the property.
Yeah.
So, and that's really clever with how he's pivoted his business, that he can actually now sell the furniture that lives inside the house. So,
yeah, this is really cool. I've noticed there's a few barcodes that appear on things. So when they're doing kind of the install, they'll kind of scan it in and work out, this has been used here and 6 times here.
So I can sell it for X.
Yeah.
So he's got a very clever system that allows people to be able to now walk in and say, that picture you put in that hallway, it's stunning.
Can I have that?
Can I have that?
Can I just have the whole room? Can I literally have this living room because it's exactly what I fell in love with, and let's go from there.
So it's really clever how he's pivoted his business to be able to do that. So hats off to him.
Well, we had one at in Claremont recently where the clients, they had bought the house with the styled furniture, and when they came back, they're like, let's style it again, because they just knew that they were connected with the house, and then that's why they wanted it to do the same thing when they're reselling it.
Yeah.
So sometimes as well, it's actually giving the buyers a better experience so that they can actually make a informed decision that's close to their heart. And
I think the heart's the key part there, because obviously we were talking about the stock being kind of quite low at the moment, and it's hard to kind of find the right place. But if you're getting that emotional investment straight away by being like, this place is stunning, like this is the one that I've fallen in love with, you might be more inclined to make that offer just that little bit more to get that deal across the line.
Absolutely.
So it's one of those things where you kind of investing your money into the heart feel that you'll get from the people that are coming into the place.
Yeah, yeah.
The only downfall, though, is that you can't always do styled furniture.
No, so that's where I thought we could pivot from here into Pat's area of expertise.
Yes. Move on, John.
Next. You're old school.
So what I wanted to jump to here was this idea of digital staging, and it's kind of becoming a lot more popular now, and especially in some of these places where, well, a really good example that I've got is we went into a property just recently and took the photos. It was tenanted. It was quite messy. There was just stuff everywhere. The people were in the process of moving. It wasn't that they were unable to keep it tidy. It was just simply there was just stuff everywhere, and they couldn't move it yet. But we needed to take the photos. We needed to market the property. Took the photos. I was like, these are pretty rough. I need to do something to get this a little bit better. So I said, Pat, I'm going to do a furniture removal. I'm going to take everything out of the room. I'm going to get it all clear. We sorted it out. It was empty.
Now, just so people understand, when we do furniture removal, it's literally not altering the size of the room or the look of the room or the condition of the room. It's literally just taking a bed or, some boxes out of the room completely and making it an empty space. And they do that by, using the paint that's already around that object and just basically whitening it out.
Yeah, we're not Kardashianing the room and kind of changing the curves of the space or anything like that. We're just simply taking what's there, the information that we have, and then putting it
just to make it look better online.
Yeah, and to show this is what the room looks like empty.
Yeah,
it's not officially empty at the moment, but this is what you'll see when you get here when it is empty. Once it was empty, I was kind of like, man, I wonder what would happen if I put furniture back in, just nice tidy furniture.
Yeah.
So I've actually got this example, and I'll put it up on our...
well, since you're now editing today's episode, since we're not recording normally, you'll be able to edit that photo in as.
I can do that.
Oh, yeah,
all
that's
right.
cool.
Yep, all right. So anyone watching the visual
you'll now
episode,
see what we're talking about.
You now see exactly what we're talking about. So, yes, we'll have boom, boom, boom. You'll see the gamut of it. So the transformation is just insane. It's kind of, you've gone from, this is the space, and some people might say that you're lying. This is not what I get when I walk into the space. But again, it's just giving the impression of this is what the space can look like.
Yep.
We're not taking walls out. We're not doing any digital renovations, which is another thing that is possible. We're not doing that in these cases. What we're simply doing is
just presenting the property in its best light.
Setting the stage.
Yeah.
So, Pat, why is this a good thing to be doing?
Look, at the end of the day, we want people to be able to inquire about a property, and we want people to be able to move from the realestate.com search results and actually move forward onto the actual property tab. And sometimes that's as simple as just having some photos that gain a little bit more attraction and
absolutely
get that little bit more sort of interest in something.
Yeah.
And you got two problems. You've got a cluttered room that looks messy. Maybe that's not enough for someone to click on it because they just can't see past the mess.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you have an empty room that's just a blank room and it's boring to people.
What do I do with this? It's a room. Thanks.
And so they can't vision what the space can be. So all we're trying to do is help people's own imagination understand the space better so that we can get the inquiry and obviously get the lead to start talking to them about what the future of the property could be.
Yeah, because obviously, we've just discussed that you can purchase the furniture from a company like Shift, but obviously when you're going into a showing of a house, you're not getting...
So that's the downfall when you use digital furniture, is that we can get that excitement in the initial consultation, but we lose that when they potentially go to the property.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it doesn't affect, it's not the end of the world, but it still works. You helped Laurie, one of our sales consultants, on one down at Midway Point.
Oh, yeah, yep.
So what was the story in that one?
Well,
was something about a big couch?
Yeah, it was, they effectively had a 9-seater couch in a 2-bedroom unit. So when
how many people were coming over?
So Laurie asked me to come in as a styling consultant, as a marketing consultant. You could say it was just nice to have a little separation of the voice to the vendors.
Yep.
So I could say what Laurie couldn't, you could say,
Yep.
and they'd listen. Now, what I just said straight off the bat is I was just envisioning where you were going to be Aaron was going to be taking the photos, and every angle that you looked at, this couch was just dead center. Like, what the hell is this monstrosity in this house?
Were you walking into the corner of the room and like
Yeah.
framing
Yeah,
up?
yeah.
Please say you were, because that would be so funny.
I can 100% picture John doing that, being like, "This is where Aaron would stand," and yep,
Absolutely.
No,
well,
got it.
That's our job.
Appreciate it.
And
Love
so,
it.
and so then, so I went back with the feedback. I said, God, they have to get rid of this couch. You know, even if this couch isn't here, it's just because that was in the living area. It's a detriment to the actual property because it was too high in terms of its back. So, you know, it was past the window lines if you imagine, you know, rather than a floor to ceiling window, seeing all through it. If there's a little bit of a gap, the couch is too big, so it's just taking away. It was in the way. When you walk through the front door, you immediately went out. You could walk straight through to the deck. The couch again was in the way. So what I just said, look, we have to just get rid of this couch. And so what that did then, the second it was, that obviously opened up the unit because it was a really nice open plan, had a lot of space.
oh yeah, it was a beautiful unit.
But the thing is, have a low back 3-seater couch with maybe a side, as opposed to a 9-seater round thing that can pretty much just encloses the space.
And that's where digital furniture came in. These particular owners weren't in a position to afford to do the shift option, so we went with the digital option.
Yeah,
And I think
exactly.
it worked really well.
And so again, that's another area where there's a difference in pricing point for the two things. It's kind of you could get a full house with digital furniture for a few $100. You could get a full house with furniture that's there for the person for the showing
3,000 or 4,000.
for 3,000 or 4,000. So you've got to kind of work out what works best for you. One thing that we've discussed is when you walk into a house that is styled physically, is that, you know, people get the feel and people can fall in love with the stuff, and they get that by the touch and looking at it from all the different angles. Whereas a digital one is kind of giving you the vision or the implication of this is what it can look like. When you walk in, you might see it as the empty space, which I know some agents have had issues with. Oh, I don't know what I say when I get there.
Yeah.
I guess it's just a point of offering, just saying like, oh, look, the furniture was added digitally, but we just wanted to give you an idea of how it can fit.
Absolutely.
You can set it up however you want.
Well, going back to the survey, is that it specifically said, based on the survey administered by the National Association of Realtors, the sale price of the home increased from 1 to 15% through staging. Now, if we think of what that means, is that if you've got a $500,000 sale, well, okay, the staging might cost you 1% of your potential sale price, but it goes to show that at the very least you'll absolutely get that back dollar for dollar, but then the upside potential is enormous. And I remember watching this video of a professional stylist, I think who did, big New York apartments. Her warehouse was like the size of Bunnings, not really, but it was massive. However, for her services, it would go up to nearly $200,000 because they would do custom designed. You know, if they had a dining table where the seats didn't match the stitching, they would unstitch the table, then restitch it was a massive business.
Yep.
And then, it might be $200,000, but then of course the sale of the loft was like 45 million.
Yeah. So you put it into
Perspective is the same.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's a really good thing to note. A lot of the time with marketing, where at the front face, it may seem like, oh, that's really expensive. But we're really talking about what's the investment, your return on your investment. And inevitably, it's always worth spending the money. What's more so investing the time and the effort, and lastly, of course, the money, and which is a challenge for many people. We're not all in the same situation, and that's why it's good to have this discussion around both options. Digital might be the better way to go, or we can go all the way if we've got the time as well to do the personal styling. And it's just encouraging to know that the stats would back it up to say if you do the work, it makes a difference.
I might be way off, but aren't there's companies that can help you afford. Aren't there ones that are set up to be like, oh, if you need this extra money for the marketing?
Yeah, so what you're referring to is like the afterpay of real estate marketing.
Yeah, yeah.
So the company we use is called List Ready.
That's it. I knew it was something like
what
that.
they do is basically we put towards a marketing package to the vendor. The vendor agrees to it, then List Ready are happy to do an interest-free loan basically for the period of the sale process.
Yep.
And then obviously they get paid out of the sale proceeds at the end. So there are options there if you can't quite afford a potential marketing package, but you're excited by the prospect of it.
Yep.
There's definitely options that we can help facilitate to make the process smooth.
For sure. And this is something to talk to you guys about. This is why you engage a real estate agent who will give you their opinion on what is the best method of attack, whether it be the old school John or the new school Pat, who is open to old school ways, and John is open to new school ways. So,
But it's more fun if you put it in a combative sense, isn't it?
most definitely.
Yeah, but I think there should be no reason why at the end of the day, guys like you and Sebastian from our media team can't produce a good-looking property.
Oh, no, 1,000%. And like, we're all up for kind of.
There is
like,
no photo that should be bad.
No, well, yeah, we try to set our standard at being like, we want people to not scroll by and think like, oh, yuck, that was. And the thing is, we want the best for the vendors as well. Like, we're here to make you guys look good, and we're here to help sell the property or rent the property. We don't want the things to look bad, so we're going to put that little extra.
I remember seeing a photo once where at the top right-hand corner that was just a big box of rat poison. And I thought maybe you could just angle or cut the photo just a wee bit, or maybe worse now, you can just do a bit of digital removal.
We did have to digitally remove a glass ornament. Think of that as you will. But yeah, recently there was a glass ornament in a room that we had to maneuver.
Yep.
We just felt that would be the most appropriate course of action.
Absolutely.
But that's, again, talk to your vendors, talk to anyone else.
Could be as simple as also the agent having a conversation about that glass ornament.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
Well, it was there when the photo shoot happened. We were required to remove. We felt it was the best course of action.
Well, and I think going back to that first story about selling mum and dad's house is that it's a good example is that we are believers in what we suggest.
Yep.
And again, that never like the photos, the videos, everything was organised, but ended up selling off market because we introduced it through from another buyer. But because of that experience they got to have inside the home with it styled, meant that they were really ready to make a decision. And obviously, we negotiated a price that both parties were really happy with to stop it from going to market.
So it wasn't like a waste of money in inverted commas because
not at all.
you styled it, nobody else get to saw it. It was you styled it, the perfect couple came in and was just like, yep.
What do we have to do?
Yep, perfect, love it. Well, boys, I think that is this episode the second time around.
All right.
We've done pretty well. Hopefully, when I shut down all my ghetto rig, this has been recorded. If there's no podcast out this week, I retire.
Yeah.
I'm out. I quit. I'm moving back to the Kimberley.
Cool. Thanks, gentlemen.
All right,
Thanks
guys.
a lot, boys.
Thank you. See ya. You have been listening to The Property Pod, recorded and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Property Code.
This podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek then use their own investigation into any topic we discuss to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute and should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of this information without first seeking qualified and professional advice.